And we're live on the record.
Allow me to reintroduce
Hello, hello.
myself.
But you're scratching your beard. I thought you was gonna do the. Well, we don't want people to think you in the Illuminati too, and then you got put out a song about being happy to be black. Or I do. Do I put out the happy to be black song?
This can,
I do.
it's a whole lot of stuff going on. Bless God, bless God. What you eating? Because I'm jealous.
Listen, so you know I'm part-time, always hungry, right?
What's up? You got demoted? Damn, that's a big behind cereal bowl
Don't do
of
that.
popcorn.
Don't. Okay, well, the fact that you refer to that as a cereal bowl just lets me know where life
You
is
already
going.
know. If you don't know by now.
So I'm already got it in my mind that the larger bowls of Tupperware will be used
For
for
everything.
cereal.
Captain Crunch,
Oh, okay.
Fruity Pebbles.
Did you buy some of that the other
I
day,
did.
BTW?
You know I did.
Did you?
With
Was it
with the
good?
almond milk. You like how I said. So, so,
I'm so tired of you making fun of me and my almond
but I
milk.
did. And this is just a side note for the company that I work for that will remain nameless because I don't want to give them fools any free publicity because
Yeah,
they don't pay me
right.
that much.
Right.
Uh, they do an organic almond milk. But my question
Can you tell the difference?
is almond milk by itself organic?
It should be.
You know what I mean? So there's really no difference. And are they putting organic on it as a way of drawing, the people in to them? Even though it is $2.99 for a half gallon compared to the quote unquote regular almond milk of several name brands. I might give it a shot though. I'm on this almond milk thing. But what I haven't done yet, love, is I like cereal. I mean, I like
Cereal.
cereal. Man, listen, I like cereal. That'd be great. I like cereal, cookies, and cigars. Yeah. So, but I like to have cereal. Cereal used to be like a late night, right around 8:30, 9 o'clock type of snack. You know what I mean? But regular milk was doing some real strange things to my stomach. Like, listen, uh, and I figured, you know, since me and you gonna be laying together and whatnot, I think I would be nice to you to cut back on my, you know, dairy intake late in the midnight hour because right around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning time, there's a rumbling that takes place within the stomach region. And it's really not a pretty sight or an attractive aroma. So I figured I would pass on the dairy late in the midnight hour. So I'm gonna try to give the almond milk a try, late at night, right at 9 o'clock and see what happens to my stomach. But then the only thing with almond milk is it's rather sweet. It's kind of sugary. So I want to be mindful of that also.
Well, it's much appreciated. That's the show.
So
For sure.
yeah, that was yeah, that's where things are with Elgin. It's kind of dark over where you are because I can't see your face, but I can hear your voice.
Huh?
Your screen is black.
What is Blab doing?
Blab has made you all black.
What?
Yeah, I can't see you at
Should I
all.
be offended? Or not really because I'm already black?
True that. True that. True that. True that. True that. But I really can't see you.
So you can't see me.
No.
I can see me and I can see you. I don't know which side of the screen you're on, but because looking at you, you're to my right, so.
Nope. Can't see you.
And I'm probably to your left. I don't know. But anyway.
There you
Oh,
go.
thanks.
There you go. You're back now.
Am I back with the jump off?
Yes. Yes. So this is Safeplace. Just a quick, brief recap. One of the reasons why me and my better half decided to do this type of things is because we have very, very good discussions about relationships. We have very open, honest, transparent conversations about relationships. We have the kind of conversations about relationships that we wish other couples had. Uh, because we believe that communication is integral to our foundation as a couple for the success. So we wanted to share some of the stuff that we talk about relationship wise with other people. And this would be, I think, our third time actually coming together in this format and having this type of discussion uh, and doing this. So we're going to continue to do it. We're going to try to do it actually once a week. And each of us are going to bring a topic to the table to kind of discuss and address and kind of have some fun with it and kind of have that type of discussion that we really wish other couples would have. And maybe you guys are actually having these type of conversations, but nobody knows that you're having these type of conversations. So today we're going to dig in. BFF, what's on your mind, sweetheart?
Well,
Uh-oh.
I have.
Lord.
Where am I?
You're here.
Am I here?
You're here.
Am I back with the jump off? Okay.
Ooh.
So you act like you don't know the song. Why am the only person know the song? I know you know the song.
I know the song. Now,
I'm about to give you
in
some.
my unredeemed years, it's only been saved for like 25 minutes. So, I mean,
at least you're honest. You know what I mean? At least you're honest.
Mm-hmm. I met Jesus in Popeyes about 20 minutes ago. So,
I think we all meet him on a reoccurring basis. So, I mean, we ought to be anyway. And that doesn't always mean that we have to be at the altar to do that, but I digress.
I mean, if you want to preach, listen, I am more than willing to let you go ahead and give the people a word. Prophetess.
Listen, I'm not here to preach. I don't, I leave that to my husband.
So what is on your mind?
Because according to the Bible, I ain't supposed to be talking. But at any rate.
Not today, devil.
Not like that, though. Not like that, though.
Not today.
Not like that, though. So, let's see. Oh, wait. We said we were going to talk about something. And it was... Yes, thank you. Because my brain wanted to say insecurities, which we don't live with. But, I mean, Uh-oh, wait a minute. You froze. You said what now?
I said, nope, we don't.
Yeah, we don't live with those in our relationship. I think because we discuss them. But at any rate, that's not what we're talking about. Intentionality.
Sure.
Being intentional in your relationship. I don't know how, what's the word I want to use? I don't know how transparent we're being today.
You know me. I don't know how to turn it off.
I don't know if we turned that off or not. I don't think so, but sorry, I'm like all into this popcorn. Anyway, I think in terms of being transparent, I'm having a very interesting time with intentionality. Not like it's so bad, like we're just kind of on the fence about life and we don't know what we're going to do with each other. But in terms of, there's just so much going on that kind of distracts me um, from I don't want to say from us, so to speak, but just like in general, like I'm an easily distracted person anyway. So there's just so much that I have to like do to refocus myself to be intentional in our relationship. And I think that people start having those intentionality breakdowns, if you will, in their relationships a lot of times, and they don't talk about the fact that they've lost their intentionality, and that's usually the reason why certain things start happening and faltering and things, people start falling away in relationships. And so we've been having this kind of sort of more so actually than kind of conversation about us being intentional in the relationship and being intentional with one another and making sure that we continue that in terms of in our relationship, especially with all of the change that we're about to, excuse me, I don't want to say endure because that makes it sound like it's going to be like
difficult
slavery or something, but you know, but all of the things that the changes that are about to, I guess in a way consume us. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, us and our intentionality here, or intentionality in general in relationships?
Well, first, most of the people who are going to come through and watch this, uh, most of them are going to know us individually. Okay, they're going to know your personality and they're going to know my personality. And what people are beginning to see as they watch this, they're seeing how our personalities mesh together. Like we know how we mesh together. We fit absolutely perfectly in our own description. We fit just like we were created and designed for each other. We feel that way. But nonetheless, in our own personalities, we have different approaches to things. Like my wife is someone who is very easily distracted, but she's not easily distracted because she's a scatterbrain or she's unintelligent or she's not able to keep focus. It's because she is a person who is stimulated mentally by so many different things. Like she could be having a discussion with me, watching a scope, talking and playing with Jalen, texting someone else, and having a conversation with her mom at the same time, and being able to a degree in her mindset, thinking that she is balancing all those things out and doing a great job at the same time. She feels like oftentimes that since she's giving those things some attention, that she's doing a great job. But then in hindsight, when she looks back at it, she feels like she didn't do a good job. I'm someone who is incredibly straightforward. This is that way, this is that way. I'm an incredibly black and white person, very little gray usually, incredibly direct, want to say what I think, articulate how I feel. But I'm able to articulate how I feel in such a manner with my wife that there's grace always there present. Even when I say something that I tell her how I feel about something that she's done, grace is always there. Now, she may not feel like I'm being gracious at that moment, but because she knows how I am and the love I have for her, she's able to take what I'm saying and apply it to the foundation of love that we already have. So that's easy for us to do because we work so hard on that. But the intentionality aspect is a conversation we wanted to have with you guys even before it came up in our relationship. Because we feel like intentionality is one of those things that a lot of couples struggle with. Not everybody and their mama knows uh, cheating, the actual sexual intercourse of cheating, is not how cheating starts. We know cheating is not simply penis to vagina contact. We know that. We know it goes far deeper than that, and we know it has a lot to do with other factors leading up to those things. And a lot of those times, those things that are led to that is the fact of piss poor communication, a lack of validation, a lack of intentionality, a lack of continued display of appreciation. All of those, it's a variety of things. And for some people, those things could be a little different. For me, I like to have, I like attention, but I'm not an attention whore to the point where my wife can't be herself and can't do other things. But if I'm having a conversation with her and I ask her a question, I'm not trying to wait 9 hours for a response for a question that I ask. I'm not. I don't dig that. I don't like it. And that's something that I think I have to tweak also. So one of the things for my wife is sometimes she'll be in the midst of those 19 things, and that question that I ask her gets pushed to the back. So I'll be sitting there waiting for a response to the question that I asked her, and she'll come through. Hey, what you doing? What you up to? What you going to do? What's for dinner? Yada yada. Yada. And I'm sitting there looking at her like we're the answer to my question. Like we were having this banging discussion, and you pulled an Obama bailout plan on me, and you disappeared like OJ up in the Bronco. Like you gone. You know what I mean? But this relationship for her and I is completely different. Like I've never been in a relationship with a woman who I can have these type of conversations with. It's just never been something that I've been involved in. So this is to me is like one of my first real adult relationship. Like laying a foundation, building, yada, 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 doing all those valuable and important things. So when we get in these conversations, sometimes I'm looking for her to intentionally address something that I said. I'm looking for her to intentionally give me the validation that I desire. I'm looking for her to intentionally show me affection and appreciation. And it can be difficult because, again, she can be all over the place. And that's not to say that she's not appreciative. It's not to say that she doesn't validate. It's not to say that she doesn't give affection because she's all those things. But it's so easy to slip into not being intentional, which to me is the definition of complacency, which I think is probably the number one relationship killer out there is when people become complacent. Because when you become complacent, when she, for example, becomes complacent, I can define that as her losing interest. If I become complacent, she can define it as me not being interested.
Mhm.
If she becomes complacent, I can define it as she's off with somebody else. You see what I'm saying? It becomes subjective, and you can begin to define it in any old manner
You
that you
wish.
decide to
Hmm.
define it. So being intentional is so vitally important. Like there are things that I intentionally do for her every day,
It's true.
every single
It's
day. But because I know for one, she's come to depend on it. I know for two, she enjoys it. And I also know the bigger part that if I stop doing those intentional things, there's going to be thoughts that are going to be planted in her mind, like what happened, like what's going on, what he do, what he involved in, all those things, and those things may not have anything to do with our current situation. They may be based off of situations that we've come out of. So when she's not intentional, because I've been in relationships with women who became complacent, lost their intentionality, got overly comfortable, which ultimately led to them losing me. When she becomes complacent, that's a red flag for me. So I'm coming to her right away, like, "Hey, baby, what's going on?"
Which I think is a great thing, but because I think that beyond anything else in relationships, I think that the number one thing that kills relationships is communication, hands down. I think that even though people lose their intentionality, maybe their intentionality altogether, or their level of intentionality, I think that the biggest thing is that if they're not communicating about their intentionality, then you're left to have those wandering thoughts of previous relationships or of relationships that about, just for your mind to wander. You're kind of left holding the ball, so to speak. So your mind can wander because that communication isn't taking place. And it's so easy to just immediately think that it's the other person and it's not you. And I think that in relationships, a lot of times that's what happens. Like, you don't examine yourself in a relationship, and you're all like, people are quick to look at the other person and be like, it's you, you're the one that's not doing this, or you're the one that's not doing that. And I'm so glad that in our relationship, unfortunately and fortunately, that we self-examine, but sometimes we're like way too critical of ourselves because we don't.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think and we've discussed this though, but that because we don't want to be the reason that this wonderful thing, falls apart. You know what I mean? And it's not in a pressured by the other person kind of way, or, this like fear-based thing. It's just that we just want to be genuine to each other, and we want to love each other, and we feel like we're each other's best friends. So we feel like, in terms of being best friends, that's just something you do. You know what I mean? You're honest, you're upfront, you're transparent, you're intentional, you're loving, you're affectionate, you're all of these things, And I think that, coupled with, our whole idea of gender roles, is great. Like, I think it makes it great. I think it makes it great.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes in relationships too, that finding your intentionality can be very difficult, especially if you've never been in, what we deem a real adult relationship.
Sure.
It can be hard to even starting out within any intentionality. You know what I mean? And to kind of draw back off of it a little bit and try to gain it back, can be a little challenging too. So, and I think with us, it's not hard for me to find the intentionality, but I just think that we have so many irons in the fire that I'm just kind of, like you mentioned before, that's just me. That's just kind of how I'm trying to balance and make sure that I'm giving enough attention to everything that we have going on, and you know what I mean?
And the intentionality, and I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression, because it can almost sound like, I'm saying that she doesn't give me enough attention, so there's a problem because of that. But here's where the intentionality aspect, I think the piece that people fail to realize. Me and her are partners. Like, we truly believe that in this process of marriage, because of our relationship with Christ, that God is sanctifying us and turning us each and every day together into oneness. We never believed and bought into this notion that marriage, that the actual instance of marriage is where you become one. We believe wholly and squarely that becoming one is a process in marriage. Like, it's a process that God, every single day through his refining fire, whatever, what I'm saying is, he's drawing us and making us one and bringing us to be one. So if I'm her mate, if I'm her partner, and if you want to be churchy about it, if I'm her covering, it's important for me and her to be in constant communication with our thoughts, feelings, desires, so I know what to pray for. I know what to be on the lookout for. I know what to be examining. I know what to be protecting. I know what to be injecting into the relationship. So when she is down, I know there's certain things that I need to be praying for. I know there's things I need to be encouraging her about. There's things that I may need to say, okay, time out, let's re-examine this and get a different perspective on this than what we have now. But if we ain't having conversation, if we ain't being intentional with each other, that leads down a path where it's a guessing game now. Now I'm trying to assume what is going on. And because of the way my personality is set up, I don't do the assuming very well. I don't do the guessing. I want to know. And part of my desire for my wife is, when I want to know where she's going or where she's at, it ain't on some, I need you to make sure that you're behind us checking in every couple minutes to let me know where you're at. It's on some, I want to know where you are more mentally. I do that more than anything else. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
How you feeling? What's on your mind? What's all that? It's really, really on that level of being intentional for her to know that, okay, you have my attention.
Mm-hmm.
What did you need? How can I make your day better today? We're hundreds and hundreds of miles away right
Mm-hmm.
now. But what can I do to make your life better today? Even if that means you're having one of those days where you just want to fall back and watch Netflix. Okay, cool. Holler at me later. I got 19 books to read, 101 emails to respond to, XYZ. But be in contact with me. So as your mate, I know how to navigate life because I know where the one I love and need is currently reside. You know what I mean?
And I think that that plays a huge part in, you know, how we were talking yesterday, in terms of the husband, the man in the household, creating an environment for the rest of us in the household. You know what I mean? And I think that, you know, I guess this might sound kind of bad, but, you know, again, you know, we have already discussed that we believe in gender roles, right? So we believe in certain man things, certain woman things, you know, certain wife things, certain husband things. So when I say it, maybe it won't sound that bad, but I think that when it comes to intentionality in the relationship, that there are different. I think for you, more things that you have to be intentional
Yes.
about. You know what I'm saying? In
Yes.
terms of
Yep.
creating the environment that we want for our children. I mean, I think that's something we will do together, as far as the, you know, the
Sure.
family aspect is concerned. But I mean, for you, because there are so many things, you know, according to the word, according to, you know, how you view being a man and being a husband, how that works for you,
Hmm.
conjoined with, you know, what's in the word. I think it, you know, it calls for a lot from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a real live job to be a husband, to be a father, to be, you know what I mean, the head of a household, you know, to be a provider, to be a protector, to be a lot of the roles that you have to play. And so I think that it causes you to have so much more intentionality in different levels of said intentionality.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my wife will tell you, for you guys who are viewing this now and later, I don't even think she realized it. And she may. But she can't think of a time where I've actually went somewhere or left a place and didn't tell her that I was leaving. Like, I'm on my way to the house. I'm headed to the grocery store. I'm doing XYZ. I'm going to be here. Even if me and her are not in the midst of anything, a conversation, if I get up in the morning time, hey, this is what I got planned for the day. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I got to take care of. XYZ. And I do that on purpose. I do it because, A, she's the only person that I'm, physical person that I need to be accountable to. Like, I don't need, there's no one else who's going to be able to check me on my whereabouts and what I'm doing. She has that authority to do that because of the role that she it plays in my life. The person that she is, the relationship that we have, she can check that. I need for her to be able to check that. And in doing that, I need to be intentional about letting her know what I'm doing. If I'm going to make any type of decision, I'm having a thought, I'm intentional with telling her those things. But I was intentional with doing that even before, even in the courtship phase of this, because I knew it was important for me to set an environment for her where she was comfortable enough for her to do those
Mm-hmm.
things. Because of the situation that she was coming out of was incredibly controlling, volatile, unsafe on so many different levels, where she got to a place where she didn't feel safe sharing the intentionality of her thoughts, feelings, and desires. So I knew part of me making sure that we were going to be able to be successful is I had to create that with her. And that meant that I had to sacrifice some things on my own. Like I had to get past that. Well, I don't have to check him. I don't have to give you that excuse. I don't have to give you that reason. But she and Jalen mean that much to me that I was willing to make sure that she was comfortable with me. And that meant that I had to let her know certain things. Like, yo, I desire a future with you from the gate. When we got to that point, this is what I want. But not only do I want to be this for you, this is to the type of wife that I need. Like to the very jot and tittle, as scripture say. I need a wife who's going to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
this. She has to be able to do that. I don't need to come into the house and the house be drama free. Hence the name of this safe place. I need that when I come from battling the world and dealing with foolishness out there, that my wife has a loving, safe environment ready for me to walk into.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. That when she comes into the house, all the chaos that she dealt with on the outside, she won't have to deal with it when she comes inside. Because A, I'm going to be incredibly protective of our home. But more importantly, I know she's probably had an incredibly long day. So I want to make sure that I don't add to that stress,
Mm-hmm.
which prevents her from being intentional because she's stressed the hell out. Now she can't be
Right,
intentional.
right. And I feel the same way about you, you coming into the house. I mean, it's always so interesting for me because I always find myself on here saying, well, we've talked about that, but I forget. We're sharing our innermost conversations with the world. But that wanting to be the safe place, I think, is important, and I think it's a part of the whole intentionality thing as well. Being that for each other is it's so incredibly important to us individually that we create
Sure.
a safe, wonderful, not so overbearing environment for one another and for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
because of the way that we want to raise them, the way that we want them to be brought up, and the values and the foundational things that we want to be able to give to them as well. So, and I just feel like the intentionality is so incredibly important. And that's what I like every day when I wake up. I'm like, okay, you have to be intentional today. Like, you have to work on your intention, because I know for me that it's so easy for me to kind of stay in the same spot and just kind of like, think that everything is okay and it's not okay. So it's like I have to remind myself, the way my
And if
life
you
is
and if
set
for
up.
you guys who are watching, and you can see my facial expressions, you can see she knows why my face is like that. Because what she does is when she sees a problem, she recognizes a problem, she takes accountability for her portion of the problem, and then it becomes a major event oftentimes. Like now it's the chief focus of everything. Like instead of, it moving up the ladder, it becomes the ladder. Like it becomes the ladder, the parachute that she's
God,
carrying
him
on the
judge me
ladder,
on here.
the
I don't want
bucket.
him to judge me.
It becomes all those things. And I'll be like, yo, listen, that's not what I'm asking. And I have to literally say, love, is that what I'm asking you to do? Like, I don't, let's stay focused on this. And it comes from a genuine, great place. Like, it comes from a healthy place, a place that I'm excited to be involved with someone who takes that type of approach when they see a problem, like, hey, go get it, fix it. You know what I mean? Instead of somebody who's like, man, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I just try to make sure that she maintains that level of balance because she does have 101 Dalmatians to do.
He's so kind to me. I appreciate you. Listen. Okay, so I think that both of us do this on a like. I did what like a not in a bad way, but like not recognizing that we're doing it, and both of us are so appreciative of one another that it's like probably sickening for people, and sometimes it's like a lot for me too, because I'm just like, wow, this is really dope. Like it's like this overwhelming feeling of, you know what? I feel like God really answered a prayer for me. You know what I mean? Like, and to, for as long as we've been together, to feel like to never have felt like, damn, okay, that's okay. And I'm okay with dealing with that. That's not really what I want to be dealing with. You know what I mean? Like, I have never felt that in this relationship. You know what I mean? And so it's like this really wonderful feeling, and not even on some, okay, so when is the charade going to be up? Like, is it going to be like we get married and then he just changes on me? Like, we had this really funny conversation yesterday about about something similar, like in terms of like, okay, so when we get married, are you just gonna like drop the, are you gonna become this like wild, angry, individual? Like, what's gonna happen, And just on some, I have really weird dreams, and that's really kind of where that came from. But it's just really great to be in a relationship. Listen, what you're not gonna do is judge my dreams, okay? I have them and I share them because I think they're crazy right now. They are off the hook crazy right now. But it is really a really, to be extra churchy, like a really amazing blessing to be in the position that I am with this wonderful, wonderful human being. You know what I mean? And to even for us to even have a conversation about intentionality, to me is a little weird, right? Because I feel like who we are is like individuals allows us to be
incredibly intentional.
Yeah, we are like over the top intentional. You know what I mean? But the fact that we even recognize that we've lost a little like steam in the midst of things that's happening. And that's more so, I think, of what it is for us, is that we've just kind of come down from where we're used to being. And so we're trying to get back to that spot. And I have no doubt that it'll get back to that place. And it's not even like we're on this slippery slope, we're about to drop off, like it's never going to be right type of situation. Like, that's not it at all. Like, and I don't even think in our relationship we would be allowed to fool ourselves into thinking that it's less than it actually is. So, I think we're way better off than a lot of people are. Like, people that have been together
You
forever.
bring up a very valid point that we kind of chuckled over, but it's one of those things that I think a lot of people who have come out of bad, ugly, disastrous type of what I like to call situations, uh, that when they come out of those relationships, they can be incredibly apprehensive about going into a new one. Uh, Not only apprehensive about going into a new one, but once they get into a new one, that first sign of any type of change, the wind blows a different direction one day, or the sun comes up 10 minutes late, or the phone don't ring at a certain time, a text don't come in, or whatever the case may be, they immediately retreat to a place of saying, "Oh, see, we starting to do that type of stuff. We starting to do what Ray Ray and Junebug did. We starting to do what Stacy and them did. They starting to do that type of foolishness. We immediately run to this position of equating where we are with where we've been. And I believe that everybody comes into any type of relationship, whether it be working or whether it be intimate. You come in with baggage, you come in with preconceived notions, you come in with expectations, various and oftentimes incredibly different. But the one thing that I think people have to be really mindful of, and this is an issue that I have always had, and it's not nearly as big or as dangerous as it has been, is trying to hold people up to Elgin level expectations, wanting them to do things the way I would, to say things the way that I would, respond the time and in the manner that I would. And I think that's a natural thing for some people to have,
Mm-hmm.
but I think mine at times can be extreme. And I know for a definite fact that it was an extreme. Because when I find myself saying, well, man, I wouldn't have did that, I know I'm already crossed over and headed down,
The
hit a
wrong
path like, oh.
place.
And what I had to do is, and I think that's part of, goes back to that intentionality, is that I intentionally wanted to get to know her. Like, I intentionally tell her consistently, like, I want to know what you're thinking. She always like, well, I just be rambling. I don't want to ramble. And I'd be like, no. I want to hear you ramble because me hearing you ramble gives me insight to who you are. Like I want to know you. That way I don't try to put my type of thought processing mold you because that's natural for us to want to do
Mm-hmm.
in relationships to mold people into our own
Mm-hmm.
image. Like it's natural. And I think that's where I think a lot of men do it. And I'm gonna speak from my perspective as a man, we do it, which leads to that controlling dynamic out of fear. It's a level of insecurity and flat out fear. The foundation of a controlling man is fear. It ain't the fact that they're crazy. Well, craziness does play a part. Uh,
This is a little
but
sprinkle.
fear,
A sprinkle.
fear is the number, fear and not being able to communicate
Effectively.
that fear
Mm-hmm.
effectively. Like I can tell her, like, listen, I feel like this. I am scared to death of this. But the first time that I told her that I was scared of something, I was like, man, I can't believe I just told you that.
Right. Out loud, he
Like,
said that, by the way.
like, listen, I can't. And I was like, you have no idea
That was like a day.
how
It was
important.
like he did that for like a day.
Yes, it was like you don't understand what just happened. Like, I just shared something with you that don't nobody know. You know what I mean? It was an authentic and actual fear
Mm-hmm.
that I had. You know what I mean? But it was like, man, and it wasn't like I gave her a little piece of the fear to see how she was going to handle it. You know, the taste test it. I don't do the taste testing thing anyway. It's either all or nothing. Uh, you know, here you go.
Yeah, which is a lot of
Take it all.
it's a lot of how we end up how we are because both of us are like that. So anyway.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just, I think that's the real big thing, man, when it comes to just men being insecure, controlling, and falling into those traps of trying to seek out what they feel like they're not having and experiencing in their relationship, why they feel the need and necessity of going elsewhere and finding it. And that's not a justification because I am an absolute listen, I am all monogamy all day. I will never ever in any way make an excuse for a man cheating on his wife. And guess what? I'm not making an excuse for a woman doing it to a man either. I am absolutely opposed to that. But I think what we don't do is we don't put those types of things in its proper context. Oftentimes, when men and women commit what we like to call adultery, we want to put it in a pure sexual context. It's only about sex. When oftentimes the fact that people commit adultery is because they are lacking something, or rather, they're needing something in another area, and for whatever reason, they are unable to articulate that particular need. Now, are there some people who are just flat out horn dogs and just want to be with everyone as much as they possibly can sexually?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh yes. I never understand that though,
Yes.
but I think even in that, there's a level of non-communication as to why they are like that. You know what I'm saying? And we have this same conversation all the time about how people are so afraid of what goes on inside of them that they can't get it out. You know what I mean? People are so ashamed, right, of whatever it is that they're dealing with, as though they're the only person who's ever experienced it, or they're the only one that's ever going to experience it. I think I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago on Periscope. I was telling people like that is the craziest thing to me. And I guess because I don't have an issue with sharing current life experiences, previous life experiences. Like, I don't care because I'm not the only person that's ever been cheated on, that's ever gotten divorced, the only person that's ever been, abused in any manner. Like, I'm not the only person that's ever gone through anything. I'm not the only person to drink a bottle of water. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's what the comparison is like. Like, I'm not the only person to take a bath. I'm not the only person. Like, I'm not the only person. And for me,
You smell good too, by the way.
Thank you, sugar. Listen. The thing for me is like, even if somebody else is sharing a story from my life with somebody that knows me, but maybe not on that level, listen, their opinions don't matter to me, because at the end of the day, either they themselves, their cousin, they mama, they daddy, they brothers, sisters, baby mamas, cousins, little brother, somebody has been in the same situation. So, it really doesn't make a difference to me, because there's nothing that anybody's going to be able to say that's, so that I have to just honker down and just be like, oh my God, I'm the only person. You know what I'm saying? Especially not, and this is kind of, a tangent, but
no.
especially not when there are TV shows about the weirdest things that are sending people to the ER. It's people just, putting all kinds of stuff, you know what I mean, out.
In places that they should not be going into. My God.
You know what I'm saying? So if somebody that I know hears,
that candle does not belong there, lady.
Neither do frozen hot dogs and I.
Brother, listen, brother. That frozen hot dog, you should never, ever. I don't know what you were thinking about. You should be slapped with a pack of frozen hot dogs for even thinking that.
Did you even see the episode where the woman brought the man
all your freakiness checked out.
the gummy bear? They tried to melt the gummy bear like candle wax. Child, anyway, listen. But all I'm trying to say is that life is too incredibly short. And that's something that we talk about all the time. Like, even with other people, stressing the fact that your life is too short to be giving it away to situations that don't make you better. You know what I'm saying? They're not making you better in what you're doing in this life. They're not adding anything to you. They're sucking the life out of you, and then when you find your piece of solidarity, right, in the world, like for me, coming out of the last relationship that I was in, going into this relationship, that relationship was like hell on earth. It was like, oh my God, like, how did I allow myself to be in that position? You know what I mean? And then when I get into this relationship with a real man, an upstanding man, a person who is a person of their word, like, just everything about him is just so wonderful to me. Even the things that are difficult at times for me to take in or process, to deal with, you know what I'm saying? Because I've never been faced with dealing with somebody who is genuine, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who is honest, somebody who is upfront. All of the things that I can't even tell you how badly I petition, that's the word I wanted to use, petition God for somebody like my husband, you know what I mean? For, like, to be able to have him as a husband, someone like him as my husband. And now that I have him, I oftentimes find myself thinking about all of the time that I ask God for somebody like him. But even in the things that are difficult for me to, to process currently, because we're still, kind of new at this, you know what I mean? I would never trade what I went through in my last 2 relationships for him. Like, I never would be like, listen, I feel like I would never say to Elgin, listen, what you just said to me was the worst thing that anyone has ever said to me. Because I can never tell him that, because he would never do that to me. Like, that will never be my life. And if I ever get to a place, and I tell him this all the time, if I ever get to a place where I feel like I have to say that to him, I know something else is going on in his life. Like, I know that something that's not supposed to be there is there. Like, I already know it. Because the person that I've known him to be for the last 6-7 years, just in random passing, wouldn't do that, wouldn't say that. And now the man that I know him as, in terms of being my husband, that's not him. Those aren't characteristics of Elgin. Those aren't things that he does. Those aren't things that he says, So this is a wonderful experience for me. This is a great place in life for me to be. And anybody that has anything other than wonderful things to say, like, I'm not here for it.
Yeah. And I think the thing, man, that most times that people in relationships, they go into it, man, with unrealistic expectations. Like, you go into it with unrealistic goals, unrealistic notions. I don't have expectations that me and my wife are never going to have difficult moments. I don't have that. I don't have expectations that we're never going to face challenging moments with each other. Not even talking about outside in the world. I'm talking about with each other. But what I do know is that how God has grown me, like how he has shaped me. And a lot of my growth and understanding of who I am as a man has come through triumph, like overcoming odds that would just blow most people out of the water, which has provided me with a level of patience and understanding of how valuable life is. Like each day, it is imperative for those who I am intimately involved in to know how much they mean to me. Because I know, and not to get all morbid, but I understand that life is like a vapor. At any moment, it can be done. And that doesn't mean that I'm always going to bite my tongue or find the sugariest way to say something because I don't do all that. I don't feel the need to, give you a piece of candy with this Robitussin. Like, no. Like, listen, you have a cough. Here's the tussin. You know what I mean? But making sure that I provide an environment for her to be herself. Like the woman that she is now is a requirement for her to be a greater woman in the future on her own pace, on her own accord, through me loving her. Not because I feel like she has some damn deficiency. You know what I mean? It's like I gotta make sure that it's important for her to feel like, yo, like when we were talking about the lack of intentionality, it wasn't on some like, you gotta fix that tomorrow or things just gonna go all to hell. It was like, okay, I love you. Now I'm going to provide you the grace in order for you to deal with those things that had you doing XYZ. So that means that when it happens again, I can't immediately run to a place of, hey, man. So that means I got to check my own flesh. Because natural thing for me to feel if it happens again is, well, damn, we still doing the same thing. And for me, that's an issue because I feel like, hey, if I done told you this, how I feel about this, we shouldn't have to keep having this damn discussion. But just understanding the different dynamics of it, man, and really falling back on that Ephesians 5:25. Like, listen, it's imperative for me as a man to make sure that I'm doing that Christ-like thing for her. And when I see the current state of the church, the body of believers, man, it looked like a doggone bag of melted Skittles is all over the
God,
doggone
do we even
place.
have to talk about that? Because I just feel like I just can't. I'm just so glad that I finally have found a person who, and even down to a group of people, like the people around me are people that love God for themselves. And I'm so glad that there aren't people who are entangled in foolishness and bondage on every hand. And I really hope that, one of my hopes for this, I don't know, broadcast, blab, whatever it is that we want to call it, is that eventually we are able to assist Christian couples with being okay with being Christian in the world married folks. Like, people have so many like issues with being married. And I just, my thing that has always hurt my heart as a married woman and as an unmarried woman is to hear about the divorce rate in the church. And I think that solely comes from the lack of communication about certain issues that are issues in marriage that people refuse to talk about in church. And people,
True. And we're not even just talking about the sexual issues. That's just a small piece. Again, like that's a small dynamic. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but that's just a small piece.
There are just so many things that people, and again, I think it loops into that shame that people have, the inability to speak freely, just the things from their past that are really hindering them from being fully, plugged into their marriage, and being plugged into being parents. And I'm not saying that on some, we've got it all together, we've figured it all out.
No.
But just to be able to be transparent with and for people, I think is a big deal, because a lot of people are unable to be transparent. They just are. They're so afraid of life. They're so afraid of what could happen, what might not happen, how it might be, how it won't be. You know what I mean? And that they can't even talk about their issues or their problems.
Anything. Yeah. If you guys were to actually physically see me, I'm a big dude. Like, I'm 6'4", 270 pounds. So I'm a pretty big guy. My wife is on a smaller stature. You know what I mean? She's smaller. You know what I mean? She's more petite. You know what I mean? But very much a lady. But when you see me, you would get the impression that I would be somebody that is incredibly difficult to kind of have a conversation with. Because for one, I'm incredibly direct, incredibly honest. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. I'm going to say what I think, but I never do it in such a manner where I'm just doing it because I have the ability to do it based off my size and intellect. I'm doing it because I think it helps people. But the one thing that I had to make sure that I did was I created an environment where she and my children will be able to come and say whatever they want to say to me and have a discussion. Like, I'm not going to be the man who is off limits, like the old school dads. Like, you couldn't say anything. Like, you couldn't check James Evans. You know what I mean? You couldn't have a conversation with the only person that could deal with George was Weezy, and she really wasn't getting with it. You know what I mean? Unless it was on some other type of stuff. But making sure that me as a man, that I'm able to, like, yo, listen, I'm very checkable to you. Like, listen, there's nothing. I need you to be the one who holds me accountable. Like, if you don't, there's a tendency for this monster
Out
to
of
get
control
out and just go
Right.
haywire. And what we don't need in this world
Is that
is that to go
y'all
haywire.
listen to me? I'm blinking at y'all. It's serious. You don't want no smoke. I'm trying to tell you. I'm just saying. I'm gonna do my best. Look, Scout's honor. Like, I don't know how that goes, but that's what I'm gonna be here to do. That's what I'm gonna be here to do, is to help, keep that, contained, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, love.
But just for the fellas, man, I mean, make sure that, that your girl is able to have those conversations with you, man. Like, I would advise men to make sure that you are the greatest communicator in your partner's life. Like, you're the sounding board, you're the sponge, you're the person that she vents to, you're the person that she shares secrets with. She's the one that comes to you for advice. And that doesn't mean that she doesn't have friends and girlfriends and they get their rap on, whatever the case may be. But you need to be the chief source of communication, whether it be giving or receiving, in her life. And that means you have to stop doing some things or do some things better. And ask your girl, like, my daughter is 19. When she was 12, I took her out of school, took her to her favorite restaurant, and sat her down and said, listen, you're getting to that age where it's imperative for our relationship to change from you being my little girl to me helping you becoming a great woman. I need you to tell me some things that I, as your father, can do better. Now, listen, hindsight, that was probably one of the most difficult things that I have ever done, because she, very much like her father,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have an issue with sharing what's on her mind. And she told me, I really need you to do X, Y, Z better. And some of the stuff that she said,
You was like, that's a different.
Okay, well, okay. Well, you didn't have to say that one. But, and even some of the things that she said that I didn't agree with, that I wasn't going to do, because I'm like, no, I'm your dad. It's crazy as hell. You think I'm going to do
I'm
that?
not trying to be your friend. You know what I mean?
Still not trying, we ain't homies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Don't go too far.
But there were things that I had to do in order to make my relationship with her better. And I think that's some of the things that I advise couples to do. Check in.
Yeah. Please check in. But be transparent about it. Like, be okay with being naked about it. Like, because there's a difference between checking in and then just saying, oh yeah, well, everything's good, you know what I mean? But on the inside, you're still festering about the fact that they don't think that they should take the trash out. Like, say what you gotta say. And if you're in a relationship where you can't say what you gotta say, get out. Get out. Go find you somebody else, or go sit in a corner by yourself. We have several, good friends who don't want it. They understand that that's not their thing. If you know that that's not, go sit your tail in a corner somewhere. And I'm not saying that there are those kinds of people, but I'm just saying in general, know you. You know what I'm saying? One thing that my mother always used to tell me in terms of relationships was that relationships are not 50-50. She was like, they are 100 and 100. She said, because what you don't want to be doing is talking about this is a 50-50 relationship, and you got to wonder where the other 50% of the other person is. Or you're constantly looking for your other 50% in somebody else. So you should really be two whole people, and you should know what you're willing to deal with, what you're not willing to deal with. And, and a lot of other things about yourself before you move into relationships. And if you cannot be a transparent and open book for that person, just go sit down to you and read you some self-help books, or read, I don't know what you need to read, but you need to go and...
Or get you some Zane, or get you, you know what I mean, whatever, get you through the night.
Something.
You know what I mean? But whatever you do, don't be robbing people of their choices. Don't be stealing from folks, man. Don't steal people's opportunity at greatness and happiness because you can't get your stuff together.
Because you're trying to be full-time foolish.
Do it. It's unfair. Because you're trying to be full-time foolish, or you think that you're a player or pimp or some other foolishness. If you can't keep it 100 and be authentic in your relationships with people, don't do it. And I'm tired. I'm so tired. And I just can't even begin to tell you how tired I am of seeing Black couples specifically who have kids, and you have a history, and you have all these great memories. But right now, because you have failed to communicate and you have let some things go that you didn't address properly, that you're on the verge of hanging it up over something that has developed and created because you didn't take care of the small thing. So all you do around your crib is trip over rugs of bitterness, of miscommunication, of mistrust, and your own foolishness that you done swept underneath there that you didn't address. So right now you in a trash behind relationship with someone who really wants to work on it, but you refuse to work on it because you're so doggone bitter now. And bitterness is not a female trait. Bitterness can be within men and women. You got to address that foolishness. If you don't want to be in a relationship no more, stop robbing people of their doggone choices and happiness. I don't care if you got 3 kids or 16 kids. Get out of that situation and stop wasting time, because you're going to look up and you're going to get out that relationship and you're going to want to find somebody else. But by the time you find somebody else, the goods that you had, they're dried up, they're shriveled up, don't stand up. You can't do nothing that you need to do anymore.
Now you're having a conversation
be in
about
the place that you want to.
I'm just looking for
now
what they call
you did all this type of stuff. But at this point in time, men, you have got to stand up and reclaim the rightful position in your doggone home. And that means some of you females got to sit your tail the hell down and let him be a man. It should not be a competition in your crib to see who the man is.
Right. And I don't even understand the position of a woman wanting to do that. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of extra unneeded work. Now, if you're in, a situation where you've got children and you got to do that, that's one thing. But don't forcibly be like trying to be the man in the relationship. Like, please don't do that. Can you stop? Because it's not cute. And it's ridiculous, and it does not draw a man to you, and it hardens you, and it makes you look crazy. Like, just stop. Because we all carry a little bit of each other's, what is it? Hormones. There we go. So everybody shares a little, little estrogen, little potential. Listen, everybody got a little testosterone, a little estrogen. Listen, but stop trying to overdo it. Don't overdo it. Because you look crazy. And you end up looking foolish at the end of the day. Quit it.
I'm good. G Floyd, how you?
Oh goodness. Oh, just know your role in your relationship and be happy in your role. Like, and be transparent in your relationships because ain't nobody got time for all that foolishness. Nobody has time. And life is too short to be unhappy. Take it from two people that know, that are incredibly happy by nature. Like, it's not like we're like, oh, we're just going to be happy because we want to be happy or because we just feel like, no. Like, we are legit happy with each other and over the moon about all the things that are taking place in our lives together. And I just want everybody to find that. Like, I just want everybody to feel that wonderful or this wonderful.
Absolutely, man.
Any other thoughts, comments, or anything like that, Love Bug? Oh, I didn't know if that was a gentle sway or wrap it up dance.
I was stirring them brain cells around a little bit.
So if anybody has any questions, issues, concerns, grievances, comments,
criticism,
anything, we have an email address, which is Safeplace.
Give it to them.
Safeplace525@gmail.com. So you get to put anything, anything you feel that you want to talk about, you don't want to talk about, you part way, whatever it is, you can send them there. Safeplace525@gmail.com. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. I think it's like a mixture of our names, which is El-Adena, Adena, Bailey, Bailey. And that is on YouTube. So you can check out all of these like replays over there on YouTube and subscribe. So that way you'll know whenever we do one of these blabs, because we put them over there. And yeah, that's us. And we're on, I think, Twitter. I think it is. I think we're on Twitter by default by being here.
We just
so we're just here. We're not here to give out advice per se. We're just here to help people be better. Like, if whatever people need or want or desire in terms of growing and learning, like, we're just here to like help in whatever way we can. Like, we're not like these love gurus or like trying to give you quotes for the day and make you feel better about being a man or a woman. We're just two people that are in love that want to share.
I can't make you do that.
We just want to share our innermost thoughts. And that's usually what we do. That's what these conversations are. Usually just our interpersonal conversations shared with all of you guys. So these are conversations that we've had over the course of the last year or so, and just putting them out for people, to consume and think about and tell us how they feel about it and what their thoughts are. So we're just here to share. So
that's it.
We are going to go after my husband finishes doing the shoulder dance. # shoulder dance. I don't know how long this is going to be because he likes that dance, y'all. It's your mommy. Even my daughter's doing it.
But we just thank you guys. Yeah, I'm sure she is. We just want to thank you guys, man, for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for coming by, stopping by. Till next time.